Allow me to ask you a question. When you think of PDA manufacturers, what brands come to mind? Probably brands like Palm, maybe Dell because of the Dell Axim, and typical computer brands. Probably not ViewSonic. The reason I bring this up is because ViewSonic made PDAs, a fact that you probably didn't care about. Among their PDAs is the ViewSonic V37 from the early to mid 2000s, which there isn't really too much special and I can't find something to attribute to. So what's it like, and what do I think about this device? Those are some good questions, so let's get started. So, I can't really do any formal history on this device because it is fairly obscure, and I don't think this video is going to get a lot of views. However, I presume this is from circa 2002 or 2003 by its inclusion of Microsoft Pocket PC 2002, which was upgradable to Windows Mobile 2003, which we'll get to later. I should mention this specific one has Pocket PC 2002. You may know ViewSonic for making various different monitors. In fact, I have a couple different ViewSonic monitors myself, such as this LCD display, or this CRT with a custom OEM label, which is my only CRT that I have had to date. Anyway, there was actually some press insight into the device, believe it or not, and it's yours truly, CNET, that made a review on this device. Their 2 cents on it were that it was equipped with a powerful 400 megahertz or so Intel X-Scale PXA255 processor at around 400 megahertz, that the device was somewhat powerful but somewhat basic in design, and I mean, look at this thing, it's understandable why they'd say this, and that the biggest flaws of the device were mainly its poor battery management, as in the battery stores the memory info. So if the battery on this thing dies, then you can kiss all your data goodbye unless you had it synced to your computer, which I don't. The other thing they brought up was that it had a dimmer screen, which wasn't as easy to view in sunlight compared to other contemporary PDAs from the time, such as the Dell Axim models and HP iPAQ models. Also, around 2003, Microsoft decided to celebrate the release of the .NET Compact framework by giving away 25,000 of these ViewSonic V37 PDAs. It's not really significant to the main story that we're telling right now, but I found it to be a bit of an interesting tidbit of history. To celebrate a developer framework, Microsoft gave away 25,000 of these PDAs. Anyway, there isn't really too much to write home about, so let me provide some of my insight. The device is fairly nice for the time, and I actually saw the packaging for this device, not this specific down to the serial number ViewSonic V37, but I saw the packaging for the device overall while I was at a computer convention in Indianapolis. This was back in April, by the way, around the time of the open office video, but still, I found it kind of funny, because I brought the PDA with me to that convention. I would argue that if you find one of these and want one, that if it has a working battery, that it could take a good couple hours to charge. For me, the thing is difficult because my specific V37 has a bit of a wonky charging cable and charging port. It doesn't want to cooperate at every angle, and so that makes charging this device a tinge more difficult. And this is a solution that I have that I use to charge this device, which seems very MacGyvered together. The display is, I would argue, alright for the most part. It's a tinge dim, although I also need to look away every now and then because, sensitive eyes. As a side note, the person that I bought this PDA from was nice enough to provide the original charger, or close enough to an original charger, as well as both the leather case that this device presumably originally came with, as well as the docking cradle. That's pretty convenient, thanks. Anyway, I think we should take a look at the device in proper detail now, with its ports, dimensions, etc. So, on the top of the device, we have the stylus, the power button, a spot to put an SD card, which we have the blinker in, and the infrared port. Meanwhile, on the left-hand side, we have a spot to put a lanyard, what used to be the scroll dial, a record button, and a headphone jack. On the bottom, we have the cradle port and the charging port. And on the rear, we have the memory reset switch. If you're wondering where the tool to reset the memory is, it's hid quite conveniently inside the stylus. So it's probably important that you don't lose it. On the top of the device, we have lights for charging and notifications. Charging is denoted with a orange/amber light, while notifications are indicated using a red light. Our screen size is roughly 4 inches, and the device is roughly 5 inches large and 3 inches wide. Technically, in the user's manual, it says specifically 4.8 by 3.02 inches, and I apologize for using quote-unquote freedom units a couple weeks early instead of metric. However, I suppose that we should probably go turn on the device now and look at Pocket PC 2002. There's another thing I wish I could go in detail about, being Intel X-Scale processors, which this PDA has one, but there's not really enough time. Basically, to put it simply, X-Scale processors were Intel's successor to the strong ARM line of processors, and it was basically Intel's line of ARM processors from 2000 to 2006 when they sold that division of processors. But anyway, I think we should go take a look at Microsoft Pocket PC 2002 now. Before I show you this device in action, I feel the need to provide this warning that the following footage contains an LED backlit LCD with a strobing effect that occurs faster than the human eye can perceive. I am aware that this can cause eye strain, but I am not sure if this is going to happen on camera. So look away if you feel more comfortable doing so every now and then, and if you feel pain in your eyes, then I apologize, and I would suggest that you get some rest. I am providing this warning because I feel it is better to be safe than sorry, because I experienced this during my initial use of the device. Upon turning on the device, we're presented with the Today screen, which features things such as the date, the time, owner information, upcoming appointments, mail, and tasks. It's fairly basic, it looks nice, so I'll give it credit where it's due. Also, this is not the default background, I presume, but it does look quite nice. First up on the block, it's Notes. This is a note-taking app, which is part of a larger group of apps, which is considered as Pocket Outlook. We can take notes in here, and we can also convert this to text, but it's fairly straightforward. We also have tasks, which we can use to set reminders. Calendar allows us to set up appointments, which we can then be reminded about, and we'll touch back with this in a little bit. We have a version of MSN Messenger that we cannot use, so we're gonna move on. The infrared receiver program, and Microsoft Reader with ClearType, which has a preloaded document of the help document for Microsoft Reader, as well as Microsoft ActiveSync, which allows us to connect and sync our PDA with a desktop computer, presumably running Windows XP, which we can't do because of the reason that I mentioned earlier in the video. Oh, that seems like our appointment. We're just gonna dismiss that. And if we go to about here, this is Windows Pocket PC, it's Microsoft Pocket PC 2002. In our settings, we also have this, which is Smart Battery, which for a device of this age, I will say this, I think this is probably best I would leave it on low performance. We can also change the thing here. We're not going to do that. We also have Internet Explorer. I'm not going to test that, though. Another thing is Windows Media Player. Very limited one, but still, we can play video like this one. That is quite some neat video. Anyway, so yeah, there isn't a lot that is on this. I'm not sure if this is because of the battery having previously ran out. I don't know. There's like a companion disc on the Internet Archive, but as I previously mentioned, this thing's battery. Actually, the problem here isn't the battery, but the ports on the bottom. And I realized right now what it feels like more is an issue with this device is making a video on it and having to hold it in my hand so much, rather than being concerned about eye strain, because yeah, as I previously mentioned. 98 blueberries compared to 3 tests. And we also have Word. We also have File Explorer, which, yeah, this basically functions it seems like Windows. This is basically mobile Windows from 2002. I guess let's just play some games. Well, this will probably be the hardest attempt at a game of solitaire that I have, because it is not very comfortable to hold this device in front of a camera and whatnot. My phone keeps telling me to move back to improve focus. What I might try to do is I'm going to try looking into the... Oh, my arm. No, we're not going to try to beat a game of solitaire, so... Well, I suppose it's mainly all the stuff about the OS on this. So, yeah. I suppose you should probably just reach our conclusion now. So, to conclude, ViewSonic made PDAs, and while this one, the V37, is fairly basic and has a dim screen that may be a bit harsh on the eyes, among some other issues, I'd say it's not that bad of a device. My only other main complaint is that the battery is not removable, meaning that due to the obscurity of this device and the fact that the battery mine died, I don't think I'm going to be using this device anymore, unfortunately. Maybe I'll get a Dell Axum or something.